Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to construct a chorus pedal for a guitar with the parts of AudioBench. Right now I have my output module over here, which is set up to my speakers, and on this side I've got an audio file that I chose. I'm just going to connect it real quick to the front center. Actually, I'll do the front left and right, and I'll play it so everyone kind of gets an idea of what that sound is. What I don't like about it though is a little heavy on the low end. So I'm going to do an audio filter, which I need to get an audio filter designer. This is one of the things where I can choose the low pass frequencies and so on. I'll get an audio filter, put it right here. So the audio comes in and the audio goes out, but it still doesn't know exactly how to filter it. That's got to be determined by what this designer tells it to do. These are the low pass. Actually, I kind of want a high pass. We want that. Let's do it at 300 hertz. And let's see what we get here when we play it. Yeah, that gets rid of a lot of the low end here. So we'll just kind of throw that in there on the front. Now it turns out that the heart of a chorus pedal is actually a short delay that is changed. The time of the delay is changed in some sort of vibrating, oscillating fashion. So we have a delay for that kind of thing. It is not the control delay, it's the time delay. Here we go. The time delay delays an audio input by a specified number of seconds, not samples. So this will do some cool interpolation and stuff. So let's take one of those and put that one here. Now we got a delay in and we got a delay out. And right now it's set to 5 milliseconds, which is probably fine. So if I take it and I do this, let's take a listen. I don't really hear anything because we're listening to just the delay. We're not mixing it in with the original. So you don't really hear any difference. So what we have to do is split the signal apart right around here and then put it back together over here so we can hear them both at the same time. So take a splitter and we'll take the delay, put it into here. Actually, I'll take the second output of that. And the mixer, which is right here, take one of those and put that in number 2, number 1, and then you'll have these things going at the same time. They'll split out. One of the sides will be delayed, and then they'll come back together and go in. And let's see what we hear now. Okay, it's something kind of staying still about it, right? It's just kind of frozen, kind of comb filtery. Something's not quite right. It's because we don't have anything changing the delay time. Now we've got the delay time here. It's 5 seconds, but let's oscillate that between, say, 2 and 7 milliseconds. Well, right now we don't have a control, so let's publish that value, and let's give it an LFO, right? Well, yeah, let's do an LFO. And the LFO output goes between 0 and 1. And right now we've got it set to a sine wave, which is fine for this. It'll keep it at 1 hertz. But we don't want it to go from 0 to 1. We want this to go from 2 to 7. So in order to do that, we're going to do a little bit of math here. 2 to 7 is a range of 5. And that's what the LFO is really going to want to work on. So let's multiply the output of the LFO. There's the multiply by, let's get a constant over here, by 5. Let's make sure this constant K is 5. That's the range. So now the output of the LFO is going to be between 0 and 5. Well, we don't want to have a delay of 0. That kind of doesn't help at all. So let's add a little constant to it. If we want to go between 2 and 7, well, that's cool. We'll just put another constant over here. Make that 2. Over here is a custom value. Now we've got a LFO that starts at 2, is where the add is. And let's give it a little color so we know this is doing kind of one thing that we want. From 2 to whatever plus 5, which would be 7. So this goes between 2 and 7 milliseconds. And now let's take a look and see what it does. There we go. Now let's take this LFO, make it go a little faster to see if we can really change it here. There we go. Let's go a little faster. Let's go 5. Yeah, there we go. Really, we just want to kind of keep it normal for now. But this is how we start building this thing. So we've got our LFO right here. So now let's try and work on a dry and wet mix. Right now we have just the mixer putting the things together equally. We really want to have a sort of a crossfade, a wet, dry mix sort of thing. This looks like what we need. So let's take this. Yes, definitely what we need. We'll take the wet signal, put it right there. Put the dry signal, put it right there. We'll get rid of this mixer. And we'll use this crossfade instead. But we also need to give it, put in a control for what's going to control the mix. So let's get one of our controls here. Let's do a knob. And since the knob goes from 0 to 1, that's going to be just fine for this crossfade. But where do we see this knob? Well, let's go over to the console. There we go. We're going to lay this out. Let's make this nice and big so we can see it. And let's go back and check the bench. Yep, this knob's going to control the crossfade between the wet and the dry here. All right. So let's play this. That's totally wet. Here's the chorus, well, with both of them in there, and here's just the dry. That wavy sound in there, that's all wet. This is right in the middle. I kind of want it a little more wavy. A little more chorus in there. I think that'll do. So that's one way we can control this. If I want to name this just so I know what's going on here, I'll name this wet, dry. I know what we're doing here. We've got this little thing. We can create the text from the title. There. Now we got a little wet, dry label we can put on there for when it runs. You know what it is. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so next though, kind of want to have some feedback in this chorus because it can get a little stale after a while. It's not doing anything. What we want to be able to do is to send the output of the delay kind of back into itself, right? So that we can feed it back and have it chorus itself a lot. And it doesn't look too obvious what we can do here, but believe it or not, we can actually do this. Move these things out of the way a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is put a splitter over here on this side so that, and we'll put a mixer over on this side. Here's the mixer, there it is. Okay. Now, I can have two things coming into the delay, and I can have two things coming out of the delay. Now, I'm going to add a scaler. This is like a gain, really, because I don't necessarily want it to be, feed all of it back, and then it'll just get into a out of control feedback loop. We want this splitter to come out, and this scaler to come out will come right back in. And let's change this value before we get into trouble. Let's change it to something high. We should be able to hear it, but we should also be able to just check it real quick. Here we go. There we go. And that flangey type of effect. That's based on how much output we're putting back into its input. Now, let's say we want to make this a little more controllable. Let's publish that scale. Let's get ourselves a slider. That's what I'm looking for, a slider. So put that in there. The slider goes from 0 to 1, and the scale goes from 0 to 1, so that's convenient. This one will, actually, let's go back. We'll keep this one feedback. And we'll go back to the console here. Now, I can't do too much with the size of this slider yet, but I'll get that. All right, let's see what happens. There we go. So yeah, let's label that. That works great. Text with title feedback. All right, we got that. All right, there's another thing we can control about this thing. Now, I also, you've probably seen on a lot of pedals like this, there's a filter control that usually, well, in the pedals that I've studied, they usually come right after the delay and they're just part of the wet signal, right? So let's do that real quick. We'll use a regular audio filter designer here and an audio filter. And we'll put that in the regular wet output, right? And we'll just use the regular control here. Oop, hold on. It's green because it's the filter control settings really is what it's sending to the filter. There's different ways to do that, so let me show that to you later. What we'll do is let's publish the frequency, so we'll be able to really tell, and we'll give that a slider also. Put that over here. Call this one frequency. Well, cutoff. Let's cut off. More appropriate here. And let's also, because I want to be able to see what this filter is really doing, let's put out the filter response, and we'll just tap it right into the designer there so that we can see what it is. All right, so we've got, here's the filter cutoff. The slider, though, that's a problem here. The slider is going from 0 to 1. I don't really want to go from 0 hertz to 1 hertz. We want it to go from, let's say 20, well, let's do 20 to 20K. All right. All right, so to make a knob that goes from 0 to 1, go from 20 to 20K instead, we need to do a little bit of math here. So our, wait a minute. Where's the in there? Next, oh, there it is. Okay. We need to have a power. I'll do a little power math here. This is, does the exponent. Yeah. Okay. And in this case, x is, let's do a constant. This is going to be the low, the minimum, which will be 20 hertz. And the maximum, which will be 20,000. Now really going from 0 to 1, what we need to do is actually go from 20, well, let's do it this way. This is what I mean when I'm doing this. We want the maximum divided by the minimum. So let's get a division here. Max divided by the minimum. And that to the power of the slider value. And that output times the minimum, which since I already have here, I need to have another output. Let's put a splitter on it. Same thing. Put this right here. That guy is going to go here as well. And this guy's going to go here. And that output is going to control the frequency of the filter. I want to give it a color. What I'm going to do here. Let's give it the pink color. So we can make it out here. All right, let's check out and see what we've got over here. And oh yeah, there's our response graph. And here is our slider from 20 to 20K. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. There it goes. And it looks like I got it up all the way. Filter's definitely working though. Let's make it all wet here. Yeah. That's kind of working. So we can tune that in. And we can do a lot of things with that too. We don't need to see the phase or the group delay at this point, though they are interesting to know how they change. Alright, and if we wanted to, let's just make this really big. And the slider really big too. Yeah, I'll leave the slider where it is. Anyway, we can kind of see it how we want to. And that's how you add a tone control on that thing. Now, I actually kind of do want to use this over again. This is a good 0 to 1. I'll alter it a little bit, but let's just put it into a new box. Boom, there we go. So now this whole thing, and I'm going to call this one frequency slider. I'll double click it. Yeah, there's everything. It's the input. There's no input. It's just that one output. And it's this cutoff slider that it has built into it. Actually, you know what I want to do? It might be a knob. I don't want necessarily to have this just be a slider. So why don't I add an input, add a control input, and use that to control whatever power is here. So now the input of the box, go back out to the box here, go back to the bench. There we go. There's our one input. And let's give that slider, actually, do I have any choices here? This button, nah, slider's fine. That'll work. And that goes from 0 to 1. And we should see it in here again. Yeah, it's a new slider, so that's going to go there. And let's see. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So that's a little example of how to build something in AudioBench. In this case, we've got our filtered input, which then gets split out for our wet and dry. This is the delay with the feedback control right there. This is the LFO. If you wanted to ever control the depth and the speed and all that stuff with controls, you can certainly do that right here. Publish the frequency and the depth. You'd publish something with, or you'd change this value, the multiply. And then we've got our tone control right out here at the end with this stuff. The frequency sliders here too. There you go. And then you got your wet dry control. Put it all together and put it on your output. And that's it. That is how to make the basics of what is a chorus pedal. If you wanted to include it, you want to use a real instrument with it, we'll turn on the inputs again. I got a Focusrite Scarlett, so it's got a lot of inputs in it. But if I wanted to actually run my guitar through this, I would just put the input in just like that, and then I can do it live, just like a regular pedal, and make this look really cool. I can add a bypass switch to it, and that's it. Make it sound like anything you want. Hope this helps understanding a bit more about what AudioBench is just able to do. We've scratched the surface with things here, but this shows off some of the really cool things that it can do. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.